Most people think of honey when they see a bee buzzing around a colorful flower. But bees are far more important than just producing honey for humans and pollinating garden plants. In fact, bees play a vital role in keeping entire ecosystems alive and thriving every day. From tiny birds to towering bears, countless animals depend on bees in surprising and critical ways. This video will reveal how the survival of many species is connected to the work of bees. Let's begin at the foundation of most food chains, the plants that bees help pollinate daily. Roughly 75% of flowering plants need animal pollinators like bees to reproduce and spread naturally. Without bees, most of those plants would struggle to grow, reproduce, or create fruit and seeds. Now imagine those plants disappearing and the ripple effect that would follow through the animal kingdom. Birds like finches, sparrows, and warblers depend on the seeds that come from bee-pollinated wildflowers. No bees means fewer flowers, which leads to fewer seeds and less food for those small birds. Even birds that don't eat plants directly rely on insects attracted to healthy flowering plants. Fewer pollinators means fewer plants, which means fewer bugs, and that starves many insect-eating birds. But birds are only the beginning of this complex, interwoven ecological chain held together by bees. Many animals we see in forests, deer, foxes, bears, rely on fruits that need pollination. Take blackberries, wild blueberries, and huckleberries, all favorites of large animals like bears and wild turkeys. In the peak of summer, a bear may eat over 200,000 bee-pollinated berries in one day. Berries give them the calories needed to build fat before winter hibernation deep in the mountains. Without enough bees, these fruits vanish, and so do those critical food sources for many animals. That loss causes bears to wander farther, often into towns, increasing dangerous encounters with human communities. Foxes, raccoons, and coyotes also snack on those berries and depend on bees to find them. Next, consider nuts like acorns and chestnuts, which feed squirrels, deer, turkeys, and even wild boars. Many nut-producing trees are pollinated by bees, making them key to sustaining fall forest ecosystems. No bees? No nuts. And fewer nuts means starving wildlife during the most critical seasons of survival. Bees also pollinate trees like willows, poplars, and maples, which offer more than just food. They provide essential shelter for nesting birds, denning mammals, and insect life that fuels other species. So even if an animal doesn't eat a bee-pollinated plant, it may depend on the tree. Insects, owls, porcupines, frogs, and other forest dwellers find homes in trees that bees help grow. Without pollination, fewer trees grow and entire habitats begin to collapse from the top down. Even water ecosystems suffer when pollinators disappear, though many don't realize that direct connection. Bees help anchor wetland plants with deep roots that prevent erosion and filter water naturally. When plants die out, riverbanks collapse, sediment fills waterways, and aquatic habitats suffer drastically. Fish, frogs, turtles, and birds like herons are impacted by the loss of stable, clean wetland areas. This chain reaction proves that bees don't just feed the forest, they literally shape its structure. And let's not forget about one of the bees' biggest fans, the black bear. Yes, bears love honey, but they also eat the bee larvae inside wild nests for protein. It's a key part of their natural diet, especially in spring and summer for extra nutrients. When bees vanish, those food sources disappear, forcing bears to travel farther in search of calories. That journey often brings them into human neighborhoods, garbage bins, and roads, increasing conflict and danger. And what about the birds that feast on insects found only on bee-supported plants and trees? As bee-pollinated habitats shrink, insect diversity plummets, leaving fewer meals for hungry birds during migration. This affects nesting success, chick survival, and even global migration patterns for many bird species annually. The chain continues with predators like owls, hawks, and snakes who hunt birds and rodents alike. When bees disappear, the foundation breaks, and everything above it suffers in surprising and serious ways. Bees are what scientists call a keystone species, essential for the stability of an entire ecosystem. When you remove a keystone species, the structure collapses from the flowers to the predators above. So if bees disappear, it's not just pollination that ends, entire food webs begin to unravel. Thankfully, there's still time to act, and bees are more resilient than many people might assume. Here's how you can help preserve the ecosystems they support and the animals that rely on them. First, plant native flowers that bloom throughout the growing season to feed bees all year long. Avoid pesticides and herbicides. They're often toxic to bees even in small, legal concentrations. Second, protect wild bees. Not just honeybees, bumblebees and solitary bees are crucial for native plants. Support farmers and food systems that use regenerative agriculture, which prioritizes soil health and pollinator protection. Create or advocate for pollinator corridors in your town, continuous stretches of safe habitat for bees. Even in cities, these green pathways help bees connect to wildflowers, trees, and each other. Third, support organizations focused on bee research, wild habitat protection, and wildlife conservation efforts. Your voice and your dollars can help rebuild critical bee habitats across the country. And finally, spread awareness. Many people still don't know that bees support deer, fish, birds, and bears. Even fewer realize their disappearance could mean the collapse of entire forests, rivers, and migration routes. Bees aren't just insects in the garden. They are ecosystem engineers working tirelessly behind the scenes. So the next time you see a buzzing bee hovering over a bloom, pause for a second. That bee might be feeding a fox, or planting a forest, or preparing a bear for hibernation. From birds to bears and beyond, they're all here because the bees are, and now that you know their role, it's up to us to protect them together.